I cannot imagine what it must be like being a fan of Leinster or Northampton right now, because my nerves are absolutely shot following that Champions Cup semi-final. The full-time whistle has just gone at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. These are my thoughts immediately following the match. Give me yours in the comments down below. And let's all take take a moment after that, shall we? Unreal. The final score, spoiler alert, Leinster 34, Northampton Saints 37. That was a performance from the ages for Northampton Saints. That is as big an upset as the Champions Cup has ever seen. That's got to be worse, hasn't it, than defeat to La Rochelle in the final in 2022. I know all of these are painful for Leinster fans. And La Rochelle again in 2023 and Toulouse in 2024. But the expectation coming into this one that it was going to be a beatdown, and you know how wrong everyone that suggested that was, myself included. I guess one question I'd like to ask just at the outset is how much of that is Leinster underperforming, and how much of it is Northampton Saints just pulling a performance that we didn't necessarily realise we had. The comments from Fraser Dingwall after the match was he wasn't surprised. And you've got to absolutely love that. They've been listening to people like me saying it was going to be more than likely a comfortable win. And you know what, they've just looked inward and gone and had a crack. And psychologically, how big of a blow is that going to be for Leinster? And do you know what just popped into my head? I hadn't even thought about it. Can Leo Cullen be in that coaching box in his role this time next year? Could that be a fatal blow for him? And I'm not suggesting one man is responsible, but they've signed Geordie Barrett, they've signed R.G. Sneijman, they've coasted through to this point. They've named a full-strength team, they've gone for it, and they've lost to a team who, since they won the Premiership last year, are currently, 8th in the Premiership? 7th, actually, sorry, 7th or 8th, 7th in the Premiership. Haven't had a good season. Have lost Lewis Ludlam, Courtney Laws, Alex Waller, Dave Ribbons, I know a year or two ago, but some serious talent. They're one of the lowest spending clubs in the Premiership. I think the only teams that spend less than them is Exeter and Newcastle, but that just goes to emphasise what an absolutely incredible performance that was from Northampton Saints. And you just have to take your hats off to them. But can Leo Cullen, can he survive that? I think the knives might be out. Certainly the crowd, from what I could tell watching, were booing at the final whistle. How much of that was just pure disappointment, devastation? I can't imagine it would be aimed at the team. Was it aimed at the refereeing decisions? That decision right at the end, really, really difficult with the ball spilling out. It looked like it could have been given a forward off Josh van der Fleer. Actually, it was an illegal infringement by Alex Coles, but it touched the corner post, so it couldn't be scored a try. And I don't know who turned the ball over in that final breakdown, but yeah, God, that one must have hurt. Absolutely epic. And of course, I haven't even mentioned, which was a lot of the chat going into this, because a lot of people thought that the result was, not really going to be up for debate too much. How wrong that is. Apologies, Northampton Saints. A lot of the chat was about British and Irish Lions and those matchups. I haven't even mentioned that yet, but Andy Farrell would have been watching that one, and you know what? Finn Smith, what a moment to have an absolute... There's no other word for it. You know what? The phrase world class gets overused way too much. That was world class, Finn Smith. Take a bow. An absolute worldie of a performance. And Tommy Freeman, unbelievable. You might be wondering where I am, by the way. I'm staying at a friend's house, not too far away from London, because I was working today on the Army-Navy match at Twickenham, which was another absolutely incredible game. And that's why I didn't manage to watch all of Edinburgh v Bath, which is why there hasn't been a video on that, but I will catch up with that and bring you that in due course. But Yeah, tell me what your thoughts are, what your feelings are in the comments down below. I want to capture, I want to bottle the kind of feelings that you had, because I was so tense. Are they human or are they Leinster? It turns out they are very much human. That one is going to sting. Didn't expect it. And I talked about the psychological blows. I mean, that's gonna hurt. How deep will that go? Northampton as well did that with 3 men in the bin during that game. And I can only sort of emphasise the positive and just say what an incredible heroic performance. But Leinster conceded tries when they were a man up for half an hour in that game. And they didn't manage to capitalise and score more points than Northampton. And Northampton, I mean, I was looking at the teams when they were announced and I was thinking, what a shame. Northampton maybe had an outside chance, but without George Furbank, their captain and an England star, without George Hendy, without Berger Ogendal, who's been so important in their midfield, without Ollie Slightholme, that's 4 of their first choice backline not there. And they still managed to win. And a massive part of that is the England international stars who had monster games. Finn Smith, I've already mentioned. Tommy Freeman. I can't. Yeah, I did say world class. Tommy Freeman, world class. He will be starting in a British and Irish Lions jersey in the Test series. I suspect James Lowe might be on the other wing. Tommy Freeman got the better of that battle today, didn't he? Henry Pollock. He's the real deal. He is the real deal. And Fraser Dingwall, I thought, was outstanding as well. Alex Mitchell, big players, big games. Kemeny was huge. Alex Coles was imperious. And these are names which, when you look at the Leinster side, they should be second best to these players who are, for all intents and purposes, better rugby players with higher ceilings, but they didn't show that today. Sam Prendergast did not pick a good day to have a very average performance. Let me get into some of the detail. Again, my brain is absolutely scrambled. I cannot imagine. I've got a friend out in Dublin who's out there following Saints, and I mean, God, he's going to be in a mess in a few hours' time. Yeah, Tommy Freeman scored that try early on, a kicking battle, loose kick from Sam Prendergast. James Ram ran it back. The line that Finn Smith cut just carved through the defence. Freeman on his shoulder, try 7-0. And talking of defence, the last 2 rounds, Leinster have conceded 0. They've managed to bagel the last 2 sides they've played in knockout competition. They conceded 37. And a massive part of that, you have to say, Sam Vesti, Phil Dowson, the Northampton attack and head coach respectively, fair play, because they managed to find a way to counteract what looked an impregnable Jacques Nienaber inspired blitz defence. That blitz defence looked unplayable in recent weeks. Obviously Scarlets managed to win last week, but you were looking at that and thinking, yeah, but they're up against Leinster's B team. This was Leinster through the kitchen sink in terms of personnel, and Northampton still managed to get to the edges and Leinster could not shut them down. It was hugely physical. There were names being taken. I remember one massive shot Ringrose put in on Dingwall. But the attitude, I think, of Northampton was captured on a goal line dropout that happened just after that. I think it was 7-0 at the time. And they go for a short goal line dropout. Usually teams launch it, try and get it to halfway. They did a short one and managed to regather the ball and then pass the ball across the face of their own posts, and Finn Smith exited. And I just thought that is the attitude of Northampton Saints. We back ourselves, and they 100% did. A penalty for Prendergast, a little bit of shithousery from Pollock, cheap shot on Josh van der Fleer. Got them in the game, and then the Leinster spark started to come. They were getting to edges, they were chasing well, they were winning turnovers. Northampton got on a warning, and Tommy O'Brien eventually would score with a try. He looks really, really good. Jameson Gibson-Park and Sam Prendergast with quick, slick, crisp passing, and Leinster were ahead. And then when they won a breakdown penalty, I thought, right, the momentum's properly shifted, but Kemeny gets a line-out turnover, Freeman makes a break, Finn Smith kicks, and that leads to a penalty. And Alex Coles, Josh Kemeny, Henry Pollock, Joanna Augustus, huge moments defensively. And they got themselves back ahead. But the lead changed hands again when Josh van der Fleer scored. Deegan biding his time, offload off the deck, 15-10. But then Henry Pollock, Lisan Al Gaib, shut up the critics. A lot of people coming into this game going, not happy with Henry Pollock in the last game against Castres, saying, yeah, let's see if Henry Pollock is cocky and doing celebrations when he's playing, against Leinster. Yeah, he did. Actually, I don't know what the celebration was. Do you know? Because none of the camera angles actually showed it. They cut off just before we saw whatever celebration it was he did to the crowd. But whatever celebration it was, he deserved to do it because he absolutely streaked away. I mean, firstly, he ran through a hole between Andrew Porter and RG Sneijman, two players that should know better. And then he just ghosted round Sam Prendergast like he wasn't there. Sam Prendergast looked like he was playing touch rugby, trying to touch him on the hips, which, yeah. And that's with a man in the bin too. And then Freeman scores a couple of tries. Mitchell, Pollock, Smith, all in on the action. Those big England internationals. Freeman again, he contested for the kick. Keenan wasn't able to get it. João Augustus gathered and offloaded. And they're 27-15 up. And that is the half-time score. And that was it. Every single opportunity Northampton had, they took. And Leinster did not take their opportunities, and big players did not play well. Although, second half, it looked like they hit factory reset a little bit. Doris and Van der Fleer, two of their big players scoring to bring them back within 3 points, and it was all one-way traffic. The blue wall was there in waves and waves and waves. But again, they managed to release the pressure when James Ram goes through on 62 minutes to open up a 10-point lead again. And then there was some... You know a really good game when little moments feel like big moments. And when Josh van der Fleer knocked the ball on from a big hit from Rory Hutchinson, that felt like a big moment. Mitchell goes off and you're thinking, oh, here we go. The Leinster bench are coming on. They're going to take it away. Geordie Barrett is on. The big names off the bench are there. Alex Mitchell and some of the big players from Northampton are having to go off. But Tom James, some of the replacements stepped up and were absolutely massive as well. James Lowe, kick out on the full. Another small moment that felt like a massive moment, a big momentum shifter. And you do not expect that. One of the things you think about when you think of James Lowe is his kicking game is absolutely integral to the way that Leinster play. At times he had a bit of a shocker. High shot on Rabah Slimani, gave a yellow card and some territory for Leinster. It was a yellow card, it was a high shot. It was also a little bit of milking it, I thought, from Slimani. Two things can be true at the same time, but the right decision. And a try from James Lowe came up, and here you go, the crowd getting behind Leinster, and it felt inevitable. And it, even more so when João Augustus with a late shot on Tommy O'Brien. Again, correct decision, was a penalty, milked it a little bit. I'm sure Northampton would have done the same the other way around. Point being, the decision was correct, so that's all that really matters. And I'm coming away from this, and I'm personally thinking, I'm neutral on this one. I'm thinking, I don't think there's any reason for any set of fans to feel like they were particularly hard done by, which is why I was wondering what the boos in the ground were about at full time. I haven't looked at comments online. I haven't heard any pundits say anything. I've just come and, hit record and so I'm sure you'll tell me if you think there was any glaringly awful decisions. I think there was a harsh decision on James Lowe, given at one point, but then there was also a harsh decision given on Pollock, I thought. So the point is they evened themselves out. The drama at the death, though, Josh van der Fleer must have thought he'd scored, ball spills out, and then, whoever got that turnover for Northampton at the death shouldn't be buying a beer for the rest of the night. They can enjoy that one. They have got nothing to play for in the Premiership of Northampton Saints. They are in a Champions Cup final. Once again, Leinster are not going to have a star above their chest when it looked for all the world like this was their year. That was absolutely epic. That was incredible rugby. And I have to apologise to Northampton Saints for getting it so badly wrong and commiserate with Leinster for their fans who are always turning out, always loud, always passionate. They must be hurting after that one. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. See you on the next one.